Okay, I'd like to welcome all of you on for this very special class with a very special guest speaker and teacher, and one of our favorites, Rachel Schwartz, who is going to share with us some of the insights of what is going on the astrological level. You know, we as humans are always curious. And I think that the first science that we had as humans is looking out into the cosmos, trying to figure out, before there was news, before things like were published and everything that's fit to be, read and whatnot, we wanted to know what is out there in the big picture. So I'll tell you, something that really struck me, Rachel, that a day or 2 days before the October 7th massacres, war in Israel, right? You basically came out with a post on Instagram, and you basically, and I've never seen you do this, you were like with red alarms, you were like, it's going to be big tomorrow, and you like predicted that it's going to be the biggest wake-up call. And I even like called Miriam. I was like, Rachel doesn't usually do this, and you were like, this is going to be a huge wake-up call. So can you maybe share with us a little bit back in what you felt was the wake-up call, and with that, where do you feel that we're at now in terms of the craziness that's going on in the world and in life, right?
Yeah. So first of all, everything that is happening now, even in the world, but especially in Israel, is related to a Uranus alignment. I'll explain soon what it means. Don't worry, you don't have to understand anything yet. Nodal changes, which are related to the eclipses that are happening. And at that day, there was also a very strong energy of Mars in the story. And Mars always represents the energy of aggressiveness. Uranus and Mars together, which were making a very volatile energy. Listen, obviously, it's not what I thought it's going to be. I didn't go there with my mind. I honestly, between us, and again, I know, and everybody else that is going to listen to this video, I actually thought that it was related to what's happening in the inner issues in Israel. People asked me a few months ago, what do you think is going to happen in Israel? So I said, listen, because of Uranus is right now in the same place, more or less on and off, because it goes retrograde, but in this period is exactly where the Israeli sun was in the day that Israel was declared.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yes. And it's something that basically pushes, by hook or by crook, there has to be a change.
Netanyahu called it the second war of independence.
Right. And it's exactly. That's why people talk about it like that. Even when you look at what happened in Yom Kippur, in the Yom Kippur War, it doesn't have alignments that are similar. So even though we were surprised and a lot of things would sound like it makes sense, the energy that it's more related to is to the beginning of Israel, to the creation of the land, of the state of Israel. We know that Israel existed thousands and thousands of years, even if some people refuse to believe that. But what happened was that Uranus been building that energy that is about to explode.
What do you mean by that?
That basically change had to happen in a core level. Uranus is an energy that says if you stay the same, you're not going to be happy with results that you're going to get. And when people were asking me, like, what do you think? I said, listen, Uranus is coming to it's called a conjunction in astrology, to a conjunction with the sun of the land of Israel. And unfortunately, I thought it's going to be, I'm happy, in a way, I'm happy I was wrong, but I'm not happy with it. I thought it's going to be a civil war between the religious and the secular, the whole like small and like the lefties and the righties. And I thought, and not to go into a whole conversation unless you want to.
That's where it almost went. Things were on the verge of that, as we know. Remember that.
People were ready on Simchat Torah to make a whole crazy thing. And that's why whatever, I don't want to get into the historical or the informational things, but that's why a lot of the army was guarding in other places because of the war between the people of Israel and themselves. So Israel got into a place that it was, unfortunately, if you don't learn the nice way, you're going to learn the hard way. And I hate to talk like that, but this is Uranus energy. When Uranus is affecting us, if we don't change, it's going to be put on us. That energy of Uranus and Mars and the other alignments that were in the chart at that time, that day, were exactly on the map of the chart, the astrological chart of Israel.
May 4th, 1948.
Yes, and what happens? Wow. Yeah, and 4 p.m. And I'll tell you something very interesting, that Israel is also rising Libra, and you don't have to understand what it means, whoever doesn't. But also Bibi Netanyahu, who is the prime minister right now, is Libra, and it's on the same exact degree. Now, why am I saying that? First of all, a lot of the prime ministers of Israel were Libras. Ben Gurion was a Libra. Like, there's a few stories of Libras that were in that position. But the interesting thing is that the rising had the exact, what we call the South Node, which is a karma alignment. And when somebody is dealing with the South Node, which is unfortunately, the more you're not learning your lessons energy. The North Node is like how we grow, how we change ourselves. The South Node.
So the North Node is basically Aries.
Yes. So what does it mean? The Libra energy was also, I mean, again, I'm not saying that, I don't want to get into the politician things and the politics, but what was going on with Bibi as a prime minister, and again, just to explain it factually, the guy is a Libra. For a long time, he didn't want to make decisions about what's happening in Gaza. You know, people were suffering. The people around Gaza were suffering for 17 years. Yeah. So, but Bibi stayed a Libra about it. He didn't want to make a decision. He didn't want to annoy anybody. He didn't want to annoy the Americans. He didn't want to annoy the lefties. He didn't want to annoy the righties. He basically was trying to kind of balance the whole thing. But as we know or don't, when Libras try to balance so much, it's completely out of balance, the situation. And even what was going on with, again, I don't want to talk about it from the political perspective, but with all the legal revolution or transformation, or however you want to call it, Libra is related to justice. Mm-hmm. Libra is related to fairness. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't want to state anything political, because I really never read that whole thing, so I can't really tell you what I think about it. It's only going to be from what I heard. But I can tell you that the whole thing was that even if you make a change when you have a South Node in Libra, you want to make sure that that it's balanced. And both sides were refusing to anything balanced. So it's terrible to say sides. And I have to say that when everything started, hi Lorenzo, when everything started in Israel, in the beginning, all the posts were, oh, I don't take sides. We do take sides. And everybody said, there's no sides here. It's like a terror organization. You're not about sides right now. And I think that like the consciousness of sides and separation is in the big picture what eventually led to that Uranian reaction of aggression. Uranian. Now, we also have to know that when we talk about the Libra energy, which is the South Node, my husband is not going to agree with me on that. So I'm just saying, if he ever hears it, disclaimer. But, you know, like King Solomon said, there's time for war. Sometimes you have to wage a war. And even though a war is something that like spiritually we shouldn't like be thrilled to do, but the Aries energy is about stop, like you need to stop sitting on the fence. The Libra is fence, the Aries is action, it's decisions. So part of the issue also, and again, I don't know, my perspective, and it's my personal perspective, it's not an astrological thing. I think that one of the things about the situation is that Israel somehow, in the cosmic level, chose to be the country that takes out the evil. It's something that nobody wants to do, nobody wants to deal with, and Israel chose in that place and time to be the ones that are in some ways protecting the world, even if people don't see it like that.
So we know, if I could just
please
interject in there, that we know that everything that happens on the astrological levels, it's trickling down from the spiritual levels. Right? It all is coming from the spiritual. So all of these alignments, although an astrologer could see what's going on, but without being really deeply connected to the spirituality and the God that's there, that's running the show, not just, it's obviously not the stars. So then we're so limited, which is why, you know, I love, you know, like conversations that we have, because you understand that you have a very deep understanding of astrology, but you understand that, you know, there's something beyond that. So regarding what you just mentioned, that Israel has the, we could say the job, the task to take out evil. Well, we know that that is our obligation, to take out Amalek, to take out the evil nation of Amalek, which is the kernel of negativity and the kernel of doubt. It brings, it cools people's hearts. That's what it says, Asher karcha baderech. And when you were talking about the being ambivalent, being on the fence, and having that South Node in Aries and being a little bit too politically correct, that's not what we need to do, because we need to just take action. And taking action is more the Aries fire energy of like the, you know, the leader that's coming and taking care of business. And that's what we're seeing happen here in Israel.
Right. And the Aries also represent, Aries is ruled by Mars, which is the planet that has to do with war. And again, I am saying, because my husband and I, whenever we talk about it, my husband is not an Israeli, so he sees it with less, maybe my emotional side of the story. I have my whole family is in Israel, so I think that if we look at even at war, like in that perspective, that what happened with the Hamas is that they broke every spiritual rule possible.
And they're lying about everything that they did.
Right. that they do all the time. I mean, again, I don't want to be like they have a whole, that Gaza has, it's called Pallywood, which is the Palestinian Hollywood. They fake a lot of news, and again, I don't want to be like now, but it's something that the lie is there. Now, I do want to say that things like that don't have to happen. But what is the bigger picture preparation besides the land of Israel? Because right now we are Pluto, which is, it's a planet that is a very, some people won't call it a planet, but for me it's a planet. It takes 248 years to orbit.
Sorry, Rachel, I'm sorry to stop for a second, but like before you get to Pluto, because that's important.
Yeah.
The South Node and the North Node. We were talking about that in our course when we did that course together, and the importance of the South Node and the North Node, referring to your karma and your fixing. So that recently has changed. Is that correct?
Right. To Libra.
So when did that change?
I can tell you the exact times, but the more important thing to remember is that the upcoming eclipses, which is, by the way, that's the calculation. I'm seeing what Lorenzo is writing. I'm gonna read it soon. The whole calculation of the nodes is related to the eclipses. It's a certain calculation that shows us when the eclipses are going to happen and which sign they're going to happen in. So we already experienced an eclipse in Aries in the middle of the month of Tishrei.
Yeah.
Right. It's like we have a very
that was
in Taurus. Yeah. I'm gonna give me a second. I'm gonna give you first of all the time that the nodes changed. But what I want to say about what you said, the Aries energy is action, it's decision, and it's also
and that's where we're going. That's where we're going at as a collective, right? That's a collective. We have to stop getting off the fence, or on the fence of of these very politically correct, and everything is this and everything is that, and then to actually make a decision, which I think is, we're seeing this in current events with people around the world. Either it's like you can't be in two places. You're either for the side of light, basically, the way you're either on the side of light and humanity. That's the only way to see it, or you're on the other side.
I agree with you. And you know what's the problem now, though? Is that some people think that the side of humanity is the wrong side.
Right.
Like they don't.
And they're as fiery about that as they can. And we see that in marches in Washington and in London and
and now in Paris. I don't want to start scaring people, but it was in July, by the way, the 18th of July, it's when it moved. And I want to say, and it's there for a year and a half, eclipses. But what I want to say just about the Aries energy and what you just said is that right now, and I think Israel is dealing with it, but I think we all are dealing with it. Like, where is the place that they say things just because I want to please everybody else? And where am I connected to my truth? Where am I really aware of my needs and desires and what makes me happy even? And where am I worried about, like, how they're going to see me? What they're going to say? Are they going to like me? I'm dependent on them. You know that spiritually, that it's called an axis, like the axis of the Aries Libra, especially when the Libra is in the south, which means the old energy that we need to be far from. When it's an energy that the Libra is the issue, there's a lot of emphasis on how people are going to see, how people are going to be happy with me, but I don't know who I am. and I'm not aware of my needs or even my wants, even my desires. So
because of being so politically correct.
it's politically correct to the point that you're far from your own identity already, and from your truth, and put yourself in danger, which is, and the Aries maybe is a little bit
Extreme.
It's more like hot-headed, like more reactive. Like I can say, again, I'm very smooth, so trust me, a lot of times I deal with that energy of like, erase Gaza, that's it, let's just put like bombs and finish it. Like that's where the Aries wants to go, of like, I don't care who is there. And the side that needs to say, chill, relax. It's not about retaliation. A lot of people think that Israel is retaliating right now.
Right.
I mean, of course, it's gonna be nice to see all the people that did the horrible things pay back. But the thing is that in the spiritual world, it's not a purpose to retaliate.
Yeah.
It's a purpose to do it if we feel it's a spiritual thing that needs to be done. And I feel in this case, there's no question about it, because it's like you said, it's not about even good versus evil. It's about light and darkness, God and the opposite.
Yeah.
That's what it's really about. And if I talk for a second, I just want to mention that whole Aquarius energy, that we are at the end of the Pluto in Capricorn energy that was with us since 2008.
What do you mean by that? If you just
Pluto is a planet that takes 248 years to orbit the sun, which means when it gets to a certain point, it's going to be here, and then it's not going to happen again for another 248 years.
That's a lot of years.
Many years, yes. So the United States was still dealing with the residue of it's called the Pluto return, when Pluto goes back to the same place it was when they signed the independence, the Declaration of Independence, because Pluto in Capricorn was related to economy, because Capricorn is related to the energy of money, of banking. And that's what happened in 2008. When Pluto got into Capricorn, there was the whole economical crisis and crash. Exactly. Now, Pluto is moving to Aquarius. And the energy of Aquarius is what we're talking about, which means like everything is in a bigger picture. Yes, we're humans and we can see it with emotions, but if we look at it from a spiritual perspective, without identifying with the circumstances, but seeing it as a step that is one step to the next level right now. Pluto in Aquarius is a time that revolutions happen, that spirituality happens, that technological changes are happening, but it's more even related to whoever knows the age of Aquarius. What is the age of Aquarius? It's an age that everybody truly needs to care for the big picture stuff, not only God and me.
So when did we move into this?
It's coming up. I'll give you the exact dates if you want, but we're already in the energy of it.
Maybe while you may want to tell us the dates, I was going to mention that the month of Shvat, which is Aquarius, is it says that Ein Mazal Israel, that Israel has no mazal. In other words, we're above the constellations. But what is our constellation? The closest constellation is actually Aquarius. Why? Because who was there by the water? Jacob, Yaakov, right? Actually meeting Rachel. He was taking the dli, right? Dalo dala lanu, Moshe and Sipporah was marrying a founder by the well. And what's the idea
Right.
of the dli, which is the Aquarius? The sign of Aquarius is the bucket. It's the idea that we're funnels for a greater purpose. In other words, it's not about me. Whereas Capricorn, you could say, or for that matter, all the other signs, they could be more, it's about this kind of energy. Whereas the sign of Aquarius, which just says Mazal Israel, it's like I'm a servant for something greater to happen. And that's much more of the interconnection, the energy that we want to have.
I don't have the Hebrew, but I can tell you that it is happening. As you were saying, I'm like, wait a minute, how does he know? On the 22nd of January, we're moving to Pluto and Aquarius, and it's going to be the Aquarius energy also in the Gregorian. I can look, where's my phone? I can check the Hebrew if you want, but we're moving in the 22nd of January, which is going to be already also the English Aquarius energy. And I wanted to say something about even the name Israel. We keep saying this word, but Yaakov got that name because he fought, right? It was Sarita, Kisarita, right? The idea of the name even Israel has to do with the energy of fighting. But again, like I so agree with you, it's to fight for what cause? I think if we understand that Israel is in a situation that, and again, I don't want to judge people that don't see it. It's very hard not to, but I don't want to do it. I see a lot of Jewish people in America that go and protest against it. Now, I'm not saying I understand why people don't want war, but a lot of times the necessity of fighting or war, even all the patriarch went into wars. It's not something that it needs to be looked at in a more big picture way. So if again, Bibi, again, you can like him, you can dislike him, but one of the things he doesn't want more than anything as a Libra is a war. Libras are all about just peace, harmony, balance, everything, politics, right?
Yeah.
So Bibi lost a brother in a terror situation. So it's I'm sure there's a lot going on there for him, right? But I'm saying when he goes into a war, that it's called milchemet en brera. It's a no choice war.
I think that what is happening here and feeling this, living here in Israel, it's very much the feeling is we're in it together and we're going in, and it's almost like we're schlepping like the leaders, and we're like, just don't just stop kvetching as leaders. We don't enough. We're waiting for real leadership. In other words, we're feeling it. Everyone is enough is enough. We're going in together. There's the warriors that are on the front lines. There's the people who are donating funds, the people that are cooking, people that are,
driving everywhere.
Spiritually, it's unbelievable. The a friend of mine was telling me that on the road, there's big army guys with bald heads and tattoos and everything. No kippas or anything like that, but they have tzitzit. They're wearing this tzitzit, this talit on, and I'm seeing this all over. So there's such an unbelievable energy that's almost coming from below to above. It's the people who are changing, and the people are almost saying enough is enough. We're sick and tired of all this crap. Excuse my French. That's going on. And it's and most of it is coming from that Libra energy, right? From that old Libra energy. And we're saying we want to go towards Aries, which is really the energy of Mashiach, right? That's the energy of miracle. That's the energy of Judah,
of new beginnings, of starting clean. And even what you said, I would even relate it to that Aquarian energy that, again, even though it's moving in January, we already touched it. It goes retrograde. So, but we already are dealing with like or experiencing that Pluto in Aquarius energy.
How is that, by the way, if it's not yet there?
Because it went retrograde. So it's planets that are slow planets retrograde a lot. Retrogression is just how we see it, and because it's far and how it when it's on our side it looks retrograde, whatever. It's a whole optical illusion thing. But when it goes retrograde, it goes back to the sign before. And then when it goes direct, it starts again. And I wanted to say something about what you said, which was so cool, that people are done with the BS, kind of, right? Like, and it's very Aquarius. Like, it's almost like it's the people that, it's like, you know, we talk about democracy, it's the people's governing. That's the meaning of democracy, right? So I think that what you're seeing is that even the idea of the old-fashioned leadership, because Aquarius is very much about different ways of doing things, new ways, and the Aries adds the newness, and the Aquarius says, get out of the box. And people don't.
Was the US? Was the US, you were talking about Pluto and back
this is Pluto generally. This is Pluto generally, but I'm saying it impacts also, you know, that I know somebody told me it's in the Zohar. I never saw it with my own eyes. Probably you'll be the good person to ask. That the Zohar says that everything starts in Israel and then it goes to the whole world.
Yeah, it's actually the Talmud, tractate Menachot, says that Lashem, the verse says in Psalms 24, Lashem haaretz umloa, right? Tevel veyoshveva, that for Hashem the land is there, and then Tevel is the entire world. So the Zohar also says this, but it's basically the Talmud says that everything starts on a microcosmic level in the land of Israel. So it says that the rest of the world drinks from the not incense, the what do you call it when you have like essence, right? Like tea essence. Right. Yes. And so you have like this intensity that goes and flows out to the rest of the world, but it's intense in the land itself because we have this energy flowing from it.
Right. Israel is the Kodesh HaKodeshim, the Holy of Holies in the Temple Mount. That area is the highest point of energy of the world, and everything comes from there.
That's what they're fighting for.
Right, that's why they're
in this attack. Literally, I mean, they're called the Al-Aqsa, whatever, and they wanted to go to the Temple Mount. That was their intention. They had like maps, and they're like, we're going through, and we're going to liberate, whatever that means. So it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. It's such a wake up call.
It's very crazy.
For on so many levels.
Yeah. And when you say, you know, when we think about even that feeling of they come and they want their justice. They come from a place of justice. It's like crazy for me how, you know, sometimes I see the soldiers of Israel, or before they go to fight, a rabbi will say a prayer with them. And because they want them to come home peacefully, and but I'm thinking about, you know, the energy of Libra will make you almost see sometimes how on the two sides of the scale, people can say the same, almost like the same narrative, like I'm doing it for God, I'm doing it for God. Hamas, Yahya Sinwar is a guy that believes he doesn't care to die because his whole Scorpio way of seeing things, he's a Scorpio, no offense to the Scorpios, but he is extreme and he's willing to die for his cause, for God, right?
Sooner than later.
Exactly. Don't let anything hold you from that, right? And after Israel saved his life, which I'm sure you know about it, right? It's like so crazy. But I'm saying that also that place of that hesitation, the Libra hesitation of like, are we right? Or within the people of Israel that try to, so no, this is a time that the Aries energy needs to be what guides. Like you have to be clear. You can't have two sides. Like, and again, when I'm talking about two sides, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have, if you feel you want to have compassion for a kid that died in Gaza, I'm not saying that it's you can have compassion, but the idea is not to look at it as something that is gray. The Aries says it's black and white. Which side are you on? We'll be right back for a second to that, but I want to say about the Aquarius, that Aquarius is a time, the age of Aquarius, the Pluto in Aquarius, is energy that is here to lift us above the physical reality, above looking at things just as physical things. Aquarius is an energy that like you care for the world. And when Israel fights that war, whether the world understands it or doesn't, it's a war of the world. It's something that like is a much bigger scale. And the more Israel understands it, and I think Israelis do understand it from what I'm hearing and reading and watching. A lot I'm hearing, reading, and watching, as you probably can tell. Israel understands that we are like the frontliners, and the Aries' job is to be the pioneer, the frontliner, the person that has the courage, has the, like the name of Nachshon ben Aminadav, right? Like I'm going first, and I trust that I'm doing the right thing.
At the same time, what we're seeing is that there's a whole alignment and alliances that are going on right now, and it's between the axis of evil, right? Iran, China, North Korea, Russia, all of those players, Lebanon, whatever, Iraq, and now Europe is waking up a little too late, too soon, right? And and the United States is trying to make sense of what has happened to them in terms of the far left and where they've gone and strayed in terms of the moral clarity that used to be there, and so they need Israel. The whole world needs Israel for this moral clarity.
Yeah.
It's a moral clarity for the world.
Israel needs to understand, because as much as I am very, you all understand, I'm Israeli. Of course, I'm going to take Israel's side no matter what, even if not in this case, but in some cases I wouldn't agree. I will always protect Israel because it's my brothers and sisters. This whole country is my brothers and sisters. I can't separate myself, but we need to remember that as people, our job is a spiritual job. So even if we have to be put in a position that we have to do physical things, and unfortunately we already suffered so much loss, and even our own soldiers that now, Bezrat Hashem, God willing, it will be the last, but to understand that we are fighting a war that is a spiritual, or it's to really try not to fall into the place of like it's physical things. We're doing something because as Israel, as the land, as the Jewish people, listen, this, by the way, it's not an existence war. Israel can finish everyone in a day. It's not about that. But it's really about understanding that we're fighting a war that will eventually, we need to choose as people. And this is that Uranus on the sun. What do you represent? Do you represent the spiritual leader of the world? Mm-hmm. Or you run, and again, I have no problem with high tech. I don't have any problem with the medical inventions. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. But Israel is spiritual, not enough representing a spiritual beacon of light. Yeah. And that's why, in some ways, as Jews, we are persecuted.
Right.
again, it's not our fault, but I'm saying if we want to understand why we never mind what happens, we exist. But we do suffer persecution, is because the job of the Jew is to bring light, wisdom to the world, mitzion tetzet Torah, right? We are the ones that have that role, and we have to remember that it's all really spiritual.
Yeah. And when we don't do that, then we're fought against. Then our enemies pop their heads. So the greatest protection that we do have is really our spiritual protection. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe said in 1980 when Saddam was throwing his what do you call it, whatever they were, because
the Qassams,
whatever they were, and then we didn't have the Iron Dome. He said, don't worry, Hashem's eyes are on the land. Hashem is watching the land, and nobody passed. Nothing happened to anyone. And in the Second Lebanon War in 2006, there was a Katyusha, it fell over here in the city of Tzfat, right? That in over 2,500 Katyushas were fired from Lebanon. And not one person, there's not one casualty. There was one person who passed at the beginning because of like shock.
Yeah.
But nothing. Could you believe that? And they say, like, there were tzaddikim there. They were like looking at it, and they were the real Iron Dome. They were like, nope, you're going here, you're going there, and they landed in open places. There was one Katyusha that came into the Beit Yosef shul, right? There's the shul, the synagogue of Rabbi Yosef Karo, went in through the window and did not explode. And till this day, they have that remnant in the Katyusha. They took it out and they exploded it elsewhere, obviously, and they brought back this remnant of it, and it hangs there. Literally came through the window, and it was like didn't go, right? So it's supernatural, and when we see this is supernatural. Golda Meir and Ben Gurion, they said to live in Israel, if you don't believe in miracles, you're not a realist. And to understand that miracles are our reality. And just to bring it full, just bring it around to Aries energy, because on the Jewish level, on the Kabbalistic level, Aries is Nisan, what does Nisan mean in Hebrew? Nes. What's Nes? A miracle.
Yeah.
Nisan is miracles. So in other words, we have to believe that the miracles are not just possible, they're our reality.
Right.
In other words, stop being like this Libra thing, and my chart, Rachel, also. So I've got some Libra there. Like, just let that that thing go and just go into the miracle.
Right. That I read somewhere that when they teach in army schools about wars, they say Israel is not an example. You can't take any examples from Israel, because literally every war was a miracle. That's it. It's nothing. You can't learn anything from the Israeli war, because it's only godly intervention, basically, because we have to exist, and because we have to do our work spiritually. And I think that, like what you said in the beginning, it's so important to understand that also our protection. What is this Aquarius energy, right? Aquarius is an energy that, like, I care for everyone. I'm not just doing for me. It's not just what's comfortable for me, what serves me, what helps me. What we're moving to is a time that we're gonna have to think outside of our little selves or our little family, like to think in a bigger way, whatever it means to us. And I think that even if Israel, again, I mean, unfortunately, that's the thing. If the people are gonna change, I think we need to pray that the new leadership is not gonna be a religious coercion, because religious coercion, even though it's really nice to go to Israel and have a lot of kosher places to eat in, as a person that eats kosher, I think that like we need to move to a place that we first say that everybody deserves to have the life that they want to have, and that we can't intervene with anybody else's free will, and to see it in a spiritual way, which means I look at myself. Do I care in a bigger way? That's what it's about. It's not to tell one person you don't care enough or you don't do it the right way. And I think that's what we need to pray for, because the leadership is going to change. So Bezrat Hashem, that the next leaders are going to have some kind of a spiritual spark, something. It doesn't have to be religious, but some kind of a spiritual understanding to the fact that we have a role in this world and we have to take it very seriously. And of course, to make sure that the problem with Israel is it was divided. And that's why there was no protection like was in the Gulf War and in all the rest of the miraculous war. Now Israel is going to win because everybody is united. But I hope and I pray that Israel will remember to be like that, even in the days after the victory, because the real victory will be, yes, of course, to eliminate the evil and the darkness, but to keep that unity and to remember that we have a bigger role than just being startup nation, which there's nothing wrong with it, but there's more to us than just that.
Yeah, amazing. So just, to bring it into a very practical place, what is asked of us right now?
So first of all, if you ask for each and every one of us personally, we need to connect to our authenticity. What is my truth? But the truth that is not because I am identifying with something emotionally, or because I'm afraid of what somebody else is going to think about me, or because of fear, right? It's like we're dealing with a lot of, and obviously people who live in Israel, it's a very, very difficult time for, I think, everybody that is a Jew, everybody that loves Jews, and for sure, Israel, it's a difficult time. But to remember also that Aries has to do with courage, with strength. Aries is a lot of times when they're little, they grow up in a warlike household. If they have a strong Aries or they are Arieses, there's a power struggle. Who's good, who's bad? The mom is strong, the dad is weak, the dad is strong, the mom is weak. This is Aries. Like they grow in a war zone, but Aries is a sign that no matter what's the war they grow up in, they come out of it strong, and they come out of it with a clear desire. And I think that that's what we need to understand, that what we want to put, how can I be of an impact of a spiritual perspective that the land can have? How can I not just like, yeah, we can pray, it's amazing, but how can I be of an impact? How can I be a groundbreaker, which is the energy of the Aries? And the energy of Aquarius is about how do I care in a big picture? So I think that we have to see within ourselves, why do I need to care? What do you mean? I have my life. Why do I need to care for the world? To really go into these places and understand that it's about assuming responsibility. And because we have a little bit more Capricorn left until January, Pluto, it's about really giving that place of where am I taking responsibility to?
And just to bring it around to where before we started recording, but we were talking about, where do I feel also that for me to care about what's going on in the world, I have to feel and watch the news or right?
Yes.
And that's not a healthy.
It's not healthy, but I think that there are two things about it. One, that if you do it guilt is not going to help. So if you really
Right.
feel that to do it, just say, right now I need to do it, not to feel bad about it,
Right.
and not to, I need right now. It makes me feel relaxed to know that nothing bad is happening, and I don't know about it. And the other thing is to remember that as much as to feel the pain is 100% understandable, but if we want to add pain to the world, or we want to add light and happiness and hope, and I
Exactly.
think we are focused on the hope, because listen, if we see stories, we can cry the whole day, but is it going to give goodness to the situation? Or by me, like you gave examples before, doing actions, being positive, praying, whatever it means to us, and to identify with the pain, which is very Piscean energy, because we do have some Pisces, but we don't have time to talk about it now. The Pisces energy will make us feel that if I sit and cry and feel the pain, I'm doing something. I feel like I'm doing something. At least I respect the dead. And a lot of times the work is to say, no, I can respect. Is there a way that can be more beneficial? Or even praying, even reading the Zohar, even whatever feels right to you, giving charity, anything that feels that it's more of an action thing than just identifying ourselves with the pain. What will happen, but not to add to it. It's gonna come, but it's better not to add to the flame.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd love to get some questions or comments, and I'll just say one thing before we take questions. I really feel like this balance over here more than ever, like in terms of the ability to meditate and ability to pray is so powerful and so tremendously deep, like during this time, like I feel like never before. Yet at the same time, there's all of these distractions and all of these underlying fears. But if we're able to get to be more present with ourselves during this time, when we do have these fears, it doesn't mean that we have to work them out. We're not going to work them out, right? But to almost just allow ourselves to be still for just, even we could say 5 minutes in a with our eyes closed, with breathing, putting our feet on the ground, right, just being outdoors, breathing. We're able to access huge transformation. There's something on the horizon, and I feel like this is where we need to be. What is asked of us now? We're talking about this astrologically, spiritually, but like almost like on a body level, in a very embodied way. If we just give ourselves the space for 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes to just not be on the news, or not be on, in our minds, and just to be grounded, and just little by little, we're accustoming ourselves to feeling what is unfolding, and some big things are unfolding in our world. And we want to realize that we don't want the news just to come at us, but we want the news for us to be the contributors of the news.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we do when we are spiritually active, sending positive light, feeling in, sending prayers, learning, having that positive intentions. And so, yeah.
Need to add to the light.
Add to the light. Exactly. And there's so much light, and there really is so much light. It is so much light. It is unbelievable. So many people are so lit up, like on fire, like literally, with everything. Like Aries, they're on fire with stuff. Like they're running around doing things. They're active. They're passionate. and God willing, right? That's something that's
I love what Lorenzo also wrote, that you can write, like when you post things, to post things that are hopeful, that
exactly
are
not the negativity. Oh, so true, because some people are posting, you've got to watch the pictures of the movie. I mean, like, I personally, like, I cannot.
Yeah, listen, I mean, we don't need that.
No,
We don't, it's not for us.
no,
Not for nothing, the government of Israel didn't allow that video, or the 40-minute video, because we don't need that.
no,
We
no,
don't need to see that to
no,
understand.
no. Our
People
souls
are,
really can't handle that.
it's people that are still in the Libra phase of the fence, and they didn't make a decision really where they're going.
Wow, thank you so much,
Actually,
Rachel.
I thank you. It's my mother-in-law's birthday today. Yes, she's a Scorpio. But I
So we'd love
really,
to get some questions.
unless you
We
have
should
somebody has a real fast question.